All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our MMHCA's board meeting. And so I am officially calling the meeting to order. We right now, Chris DeBoer is not here. He is not feeling well, so I am standing in his proxy, and so I will be facilitating this particular meeting. So welcome, 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 everyone. And do we have any, our meetings have been, minutes have been distributed and everyone has had an opportunity to review them. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Carol.
Catherine, I'm sorry. I don't see Joy. I just want to make sure that she
She's
is
right there.
on. Okay. Okay. Now suddenly I can see her. Okay. Thank
Yeah.
you.
No, what was that? Okay. So are there any corrections to the minutes? If there are no corrections, the minutes stand approved as they are. Seeing no corrections. Okay, excellent. And so we're gonna move on our agenda to the committee reports. Right, we move to our committee reports, and that starts with me. And so I'm gonna do a short review, a report on the election review. So at the end of the election, we had some challenges. And so what we've decided to do as a board to do an official review. We have created a committee for that. It's a 3-member committee who are now looking at all of the steps, all of the procedures, all of the processes. And so we are in review, and ultimately that'll culminate to a report that will be sent out to the entire membership. And so we're just starting our meetings, and there are a couple of things though that we did want to speak to that concerns. Why did we use email? So we're going to talk about that for just a second. Why we use email as opposed to any other form. One, because there was a need to move expeditiously to make sure that the presidential role was filled. And so we had that urgency to move forward, and we needed to be able to ensure that every member had access. And so because of the urgency, there wasn't time for learning curve for us to learn a new process. Every MMHCA election that had happened before happened through email, basically. So it wasn't a new process. And this way we could verify that only one person actually voted, and we could verify if they were a current standing member. That, although it was laborious and kind of archaic, it met all of those benchmarks. And the only people that had access to it was the election committee people, and then one person that is not a counselor, not connected to the industry, not a part, but she is an administrative person. And she basically could see emails but did not go into them. So that's the part we wanted to speak on, but we are addressing other concerns in a more official way. But I wanted to also acknowledge that all of those emails have been removed, and they're now held privately in a secure location, so no one has access to the election data at all. And so that's really my report, and an official report is forthcoming. And with that, we're going to move on to the officers' reports. And so, Christian, if you could provide us with the treasurer's report.
Okay. Can I share my screen?
You should be able to.
Let's see here.
There you go.
Oops. Okay. Uh-oh. What'd I do?
It says you started sharing your screen, but it's just black.
Paused, it says. Okay. I don't know what it's doing. Let me see if I can try again.
There you go.
Okay. Can you see that?
Yes.
All right. I wish I could see it. I don't know what I'm doing here. I was trying to do that so I could also see it, but okay, let's see. So I changed the format to we've been seeing the last year or so since I've been on the board. So if I'm open to feedback, as I said when I sent this out, if anybody has any suggestions or would like it to go back to the other way or anything added from the previous format, please let me know. So as you can see, I've kind of outlined for the whole fiscal year so far, for starting in July through November, the monthly income divided by those certain categories. Most of these categories are the same. I didn't change them yet from the previous template, but I know several of them we could probably remove or modify, kind of merge some. So for November, just a brief overview, our revenue was about $2,600 for the month. Our expenses, as you can see down here, was about $5,000, $5,500. So we were at a negative of 2,800. For the year, we are negative $11,930. We're operating about 141% in average expense revenue. So most months, with the exception of October, we've been at about over 200% expense to our revenue. So October was our primary, and I know last month I didn't have a report. So now that I have some information to add here, our revenue was about 13,251 for that month, and our expenses were 7,665. So by far that was the highest month, which makes sense, I think, when we think about when members joined back in 2019 was about October, I think was our high month. So down at the bottom here, well, I'll pause there. Is there any questions about just general revenue, expenses? There is something to note here in November. We didn't pay our lobbyists, so I know that's something that I am in process of trying to figure out. So that's actually a little bit off. It should be, we would have that $1,600 expense as well. Down here is our bank account information. So just kind of shows our starting balances each month and the ending balance. It's a little bit, or there's a lot here, but there's one checking account that's the primary account, the savings account, and then there is a reserves checking that hasn't really changed balance down here, 11,000 for the year so far. So if you see that total at the bottom, we at the end of July, so at the beginning of July, I think we were at about 92 or 93,000. I didn't write that down. At the end of July, we were at 88,743. And now at the end of November, 79,340 across all accounts. So again, that's that almost $12,000 difference.
Kristen?
Yeah.
Those accounts, is one of them the MMHCA money?
No.
Okay.
No.
Thank you.
I don't have access to that. Yep. You're welcome. There was one transfer, just to note, from savings from 8,700 in September. Otherwise, we've been using the money that's been in that checking account, and the savings has been staying. That's in December so far, we're on track for, I think we've had 10 new members, or 8 new memberships, 10 renewals. Nope, that was November. I'm sorry. We're on track for about 8. We've had about 8 so far this month. So between renewals and new members. So that's where we're looking to probably have a similar month in December that we've had in November.
Thank you, Kristen.
Yeah, thank you.
Carol?
I would just like to say thank you so much for this, Kristen. This is what I've been asking for a long time, to be able to see everything on one page. It's excellent and so helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Can I also, thank you, Carol. Now that you mentioned, I'm forgetting the draft budget over here. So I want to talk about that for a moment, because I think this is there another spot in the agenda I'm supposed to talk about that, or is that here, Catherine?
Let's see, Kristen. I think you're good there. I only see your name once.
Okay. Let's see. I also, I guess what I wanted to note really quickly, if anyone's comparing these, there are some discrepancies to our to the reports that the board previously received for July, August, September. I think some of those differences is just the way that some of this has been recorded, which I don't know exactly how it was being done previously, but my assumption is they were recording the total amount before fees were removed from Neon and from PayPal. So there's like slight differences. I'm just recording the amount that we received to our bank account. And I'm using a cash accrual reporting process. So this is, you know, what we received when we received it in our account versus when, you know, what we paid for in accrual accounting. So accrual accounting would be if we wrote a check. I'm not going to explain this properly. Cash accounting is basically when it was in the bank account, I'm documenting it in that month. So I'll show you one example of this that was a discrepancy in the database and accounting work. You'll see $0 in August and 2,040 in September. Really, that is that $1,000. I was being paid $1,000 a month, but there was no payment given in August. There was a double payment given in September. So I just noted it appropriately here, but you'll see in the previous reports that was noted differently. So, okay. So just quickly about the budget this is a very rough draft. Over there. I didn't have a chance to meet with Chris at the end of our last meeting. I know we talked about a budget committee meeting with myself, Chris, and Terry Mike. And there's some changes after that meeting, of course, so that meeting didn't occur. So I did the best I could do based on what information I tried to base it. This is a very conservative budget based on what our current amounts are trending. So we're about halfway through the month right now, a little bit less than that, but I do have some of that December information. And so I estimated our revenue for membership to be about 50,873 this fiscal year. We're at 26,888 so far. For comparison, last year, our membership was about 64,000. But we also had 28,548 in workshops. So we've only had one workshop so far this year, which has resulted in $1,025 in income. And so I estimated that we would do one more. Again, that is very conservative, just based on what we've done so far in half of the year. So I know that we can talk more about that. That's probably the area that we have the most influence to try to balance the budget. If we are able to come up with some ideas before June. And then it's in here, some of these, I'm not sure about. There's a board meeting budget that was the first couple months of this fiscal year, or the first few months, there was 95, first two, I guess. $95 was allocated. I'm not sure what that was for. Does anyone know what that might have been for?
I believe that is budgeted for when there was need to travel to board meetings in Lansing.
Okay.
You know, for parking and lunch or whatever. I believe that's what that was for the executive director, but.
Okay. So I'm not sure why we had $95 in August and September allocated to that, but that was what was listed on the previous budget. So I just left it there. I didn't increase that. I don't know. I didn't know what we were using that for. Workshop training, I doubled that, just anticipating again that we would possibly have one more workshop. The AMCA conference, we already sent Christy to that.
Sure.
And so we already spent that in this fiscal year. If we were to do next year's budget, then we would allocate that again if we were to send somebody. So far, that's what we spent this year. Liability insurance, that's reported as 2,058, but the actual check amount is less than that. So the check is for 1,562. So I haven't yet figured out why there's a few $100 difference there. I don't know if there was another payment made somewhere else that I haven't been able to see, or some separate policy, but I left that there. I'll probably modify it to be what the actual check shows, but I left that just because that's what was initially reported, and I really don't know. It's an odd number, you know, I don't know where that came from. So I put that there again. I know we've been in contact with the insurance company, so we'll probably get some more information about that to confirm what was paid. The lobbyist amount, that's just that monthly amount times 12, I think. And assuming that rate stays the same, then that would be that estimate. I did add a line for legal fees, and I am estimating $10,000. That's just, again, really a rough estimate. So you'll see that noted there. The admin assistant, I just averaged that out about $600 a month times 12 months. So you'll see kind of how that's varied a little bit so far. The website, I added $1,200. That's just really, honestly, a a shot in the dark. I don't really know. I haven't done any research on how much that would cost. I know we talked about if we were to have to make some updates or changes, and I just wrote that there. Constant Contact and Neon, you'll see question marks in October and November, really because I don't know. I'm assuming that the payment is the same, that $227 and $249, but I haven't yet been able to get records to see what that exact amount is or where that payment's coming from. So I estimated based on those numbers though over there on the budget. Database and accounting work and the executive director fees, that's the current amount that's been spent so far, 19,500 for the director and 5,040, and then $46 for the expenses. So I just kept that the same. That should be there should be no more expenses in that category. The postage, I estimated $150. That's roughly based on an $88 a month PO box fee, and then just possibly some money for postage. I don't know what we would. It's a rough estimate.
Kristen,
Refund. Yes, please.
you just said a month for the PO box, but that's a
Oh.
year.
Okay, sorry. Yes, I knew that.
Okay.
Obviously, $150. Wouldn't consider an 80. Thank you for the correction. That's a year. Okay, refunds for membership. We've had $800 so far this year. There was a lifetime membership refunded in October, and it appears that there was another just annual membership refunded in September through a PayPal refund. So I'm estimating double that, which again, it might, that's not, we don't typically see that each year. But as we all know, this is a unique year. So I know that people are still fairly mistrusting, and hopefully that we'll be able to repair that, but I did estimate for about double that. And this rent storage unit, I don't know about that. That $210 figure came from the original budget that was that we actually never had a chance as a board to review back in August. That was listed there. So I don't, does anyone have any information
Yes.
on the rent storage?
That's
Okay.
the records, MMHCA records.
Okay.
That's what Terry Mikes uses storage for MMHCA records.
Okay. Okay. So I'll keep that there, assuming that we at some point potentially have access to that. The bank, PayPal, and Neon, again, those fees right now it's $606. I don't know those monthly breakdown amounts or from previous budgets that we received. I don't know what that is for October or November. The $695 that I put there is just a bank fee. That's a monthly recurring fee that we had experienced. I assume that was included in those other numbers there, but as I said, I haven't been able to get access to the information that would break that number down. So I haven't been able to see any other fees. There are credit card payments being made, as we know, and that amount does make up some of the differences here. So I assume some of these things, including the Constant Contact and Neon, may be being paid to that account. Let's see. So this budget puts us in the red by about $21,763. Again, that's a very conservative estimate of membership. It does give us a decline from last year, which is pretty consistent. You know, the years we've between 2021 and 2022 budgets, there's about a 30% decrease in membership. And so far this year, we're trending about the same. Our highest number actually was in 2021-22 for membership, and that was also the year we had the highest workshop of 87,000. So we've already talked about this before. We know there's a direct correlation between workshops and membership. There was 93,500 in membership that year. And then in 2019, 2020, we had 35,000 in workshop and 75,000 in membership. So again, I think that's the area that we would have to talk about if we are going to increase revenue. Any questions or thoughts?
Carol, and Lori had her hand up earlier as well. Lori, did you want to ask your question?
I think someone has to unmute her.
Oh, I'm sorry. I did.
Yeah.
Second. There she is.
Okay, there I am. Sorry. This looks outstanding and very complete and understandable. And I really want to commend Kristen for putting this together. Is there a way that we can get a copy of this is my first question. The second question is, where are you getting the numbers from? Are you getting them from actual bank accounts? Does I mean, I see the 3,900 and the executive for the executive director in November, and I'm wondering, did we pay that? Did someone else take that out of the account? I'm wondering where the numbers are coming from, and if indeed we did get all of the financials and budget information that was needed to move forward. Does that make sense at all?
Yes, it does, Lori. Thank you. Well,
Sorry.
there's some detail we can't speak to because of some pending, you know, information gathering. But
Okay.
I can say that, yes, we do, this information came from bank account records. We do have access to that. We do have access to membership. And so I think we'll talk a little bit more about that towards the end. The fees that were paid for the executive director, that was prior to our November meeting. So that those payments were made they would have been authorized, you know, as consistently.
And so they're no longer authorized. So as of December, that 3,900 will not be coming out of the account.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Yeah. This is outstanding, Kristen. This is, you know, this is outstanding work. Thank you very much for pulling all this together.
Yes, you're welcome. Thank you.
Absolutely. Carol?
So my question for the board is, should we send this out with the minutes? And would that be a monthly thing we could do?
Yeah, I think it's public record. I
Yeah.
don't see any problem with it. Yes.
Okay. I think
I-
that would be a great idea.
Yeah.
Do you agree, Kristen?
Yes, yeah, I think so too. I think this would be something to also at some point have on the website. I think a lot of
Mhm,
nonprofits have access to viewing financial statements and
mhm.
end of year reports.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kristen. This absolutely
Yeah.
is fantastic. Appreciate your time and efforts.
Yes, you're very welcome. I'll stop sharing my screen there.
Oh, okay. Guess I'm back on task here. All right, so the next person that would have been up is our president, Chris DeBoer, who is doing an absolutely fantastic job. So I'm just going to read his report. And so he says he's been in touch with Acuitas to discuss our 2024 legislative priorities. There are several existing priorities we would continue to work on, including working towards more equitable Medicaid reimbursement rates being a priority. Some discussions about implementing limitations on insurance clawbacks, and further discussion on the counseling compact. There are a few other projects, but they are very early in discussion. And then we've been in contact with AMCA about the recent issues, and they are looking at ways for supporting us. That was our old business. So the new business, the bylaws, we are updating regarding the bylaws, and we're updating a conflict of interest policy. We are currently drafting new bylaws with the assistance of an attorney, which should be ready for review by the board next week. It is likely they will be ready for final approval by January's board meeting and implemented from there. The next point, he says, is we are also working with an attorney to draft a conflict of interest policy for board members that should be ready for review next week and final approval at the January board meeting.
Catherine,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
could I just speak a little bit to that?
Yes, absolutely. And then I want to also make that statement that I'm doing this on behalf of Chris. So we're doing it together. So some of the board members will do what Carol is doing, helping to give a fuller picture of it. So Carol, go for it.
Thank you, thank you. We received yesterday what we've worked on so far with the attorney as far as the bylaws and conflict of interest policy. So I will be emailing that to you all right after this meeting. We do have another meeting with the attorney on Monday to further discuss that. And in the document that he sent, he noted different questions. So if anybody possibly has time before Monday to look at those and chime in, that would be appreciated. So yes, so definitely we already we've moved far in that process and have done some really good work, and you'll receive that today. We'll meet with him on Monday and then send out updates from there. And we should be able to vote next month on approving those bylaws and having these new conflict of interest policies, which each board member would be required to sign.
Thank you, Carol, for that. Further explanation, the next order of business from Chris, from the president's report, is an update members about an update about Robin MD and Irene Amatrano. And so we know that both of these individuals were part of the other organization. And I don't know what else to say about that. And it's a direct conflict of interest to MMHCA. And so Irene, as we know, has resigned. She resigned. Well, okay, let me clarify what I'm saying here. Both of these individuals were voted in as board members for MMHCA. Irene officially resigned her position, so she is no longer a board member after the election. Robin has not returned correspondence regarding her status. Both of these individuals also are on record, on the state record, for being board members to the other organization. What's the name? What's the name of the organization?
Michigan LPCs.
Okay, so this organization, that is a direct conflict to MMHCA. And so this is, it simply can't be. And so Robin has not returned our correspondence asking about her status after last week's Blundo email. All right. And so as a result of that, as a result of the conflict of interest, I make a motion that we remove Robin MD from this board due to the direct conflict of interest.
I second that motion. Oh, go ahead, Kristen, you can do it.
Okay, I second.
Okay, so it's been motioned and second that we remove Robin MD as board member from this particular due to the conflict of interest of also being member on record as the other Michigan LPCs, which is a direct conflict for being on that board and the MMHCA board. And is there any discussion? Yes, Larry, let me.
I don't know if I'm allowed as an outsider to make a comment, but I'd just like to add that the email that went out last week from the other organization declared that Robin had resigned. It said that she and Irene Amatrano had resigned from the board of MMHCA, and I, so I'm confused why she hasn't responded, and it seems odd that it went out as a public announcement that she had officially resigned, and yet she has not responded, and she was given a whole week to respond. So it seems somewhat, I don't know, I don't want to put any pressure on her. I don't know what's going on in her life, but it seems a bit unprofessional to be announcing things publicly that you've resigned rather than notifying the organization you've resigned from. That's disappointing, I guess, is what I would say. Thanks.
Thank you, Larry, for that.
Oh, look, can I ask one other, can I make one other comment real quick about what Carol said? Carol, will members of MMHCA in general, before the board votes on the bylaws, get to see a summary? Will a summary of the of the bylaws go out to the total membership? Doesn't have to be the full bylaws, but some summary, so maybe some public comment could be made before the board votes those in. Just a suggestion.
No, I think that's a really good idea.
I mean, in the spirit of
Yeah.
transparency, you know, why not send out at least a summary of the new bylaws and how they're different than the old bylaws, so that people can get a sense of why that was done. Because, you know, that would really get member involvement, I would think.
I totally agree, Larry. I was thinking that earlier myself, that we should send a copy of the 2012 bylaws, which is what we've been operating under. And they're not bad, but they needed some, they're going to be great when we get done with them. But I think that's an excellent idea to get member comment about them. Yeah, thank you, Larry, very much.
Thank you. And so we have a motion on the floor. Thank you. For any other comments regarding the motion? Okay, Larry, I appreciate that clarification, so the members understand what we're doing here, just officially. And so, so I call the question. We can take a vote. So all of those, go ahead.
All of those in favor?
Okay, I thought you were gonna say, okay. All of those in favor of removing Robin MD from MHCA's board due to a conflict of interest, show by signs of raising your hand. Any opposes? There's no one to oppose. And so, all right, so that vote is carried. Business is done. All right, thank you. And so, excellent. So that moves to our, thank you, Brenda. And Brenda, you have a question. Brenda, oh, okay. Okay. Brenda, you have a question? Okay. I'm not sure. She had raised her hand and clapped, and maybe there's a question too. I'm not sure, but she has the ability to unmute if she wants to. All right. So now we're moving into the committees. So we have restored our Bridging Initiative Committee. For those of you who may not be familiar, that is the committee that services our students and our new professionals. And we, you know, are moving to our next phase of making contacts with universities and things like that. And we have Lori Rowe, who is chairing that committee. And so we want to thank her. Lori, you want to say something about the Bridging Initiative? There you go.
Okay. Yes. I am what I would consider a latecomer to the Bridging Committee. I've only, you know, been working with y'all. This was a brainchild of Dr. James there, and I am excited about the Bridging Committee and what it has to offer. And we have another member on the committee, Danielle, who's just been a godsend and does our newsletters for the website and stuff like that. And I think, you know, we've been on pause, you know, since all this stuff, and I'm excited at the direction this can go. We've got some things in place on paper, and it's just a matter of jumping into it. One of the things I'd love to see is us getting a MHCA brochure together, so that it's something that we can hand to students, we can give to colleges. And I'm excited to be able to actually go to these colleges and talk to some of these people about what we have to offer. And I think even through all of the turmoil and stuff like that, that has been the shining star for me to keep focused on, is that bringing in new people to the profession in a way that they can feel confident in their skills and be supported. So I'm very thrilled about that committee. And thank you for asking. I love that ability to be of service.
Yes, yes, yes. Carol.
Lori, I just wanted to tell you that it's so good to have you at the table and really, really nice to see you and hear from you. And if you want company speaking to colleges or universities, I'd be happy to go with you. It would be my pleasure.
You got it. I very much would love a company. And, you know, the more people we can get on board who are excited about talking about MHCA, about the profession itself, giving these students, you know, the ability to really feel hopeful about moving into their profession, I think is going to be real important and a real asset that MHCA can give to students.
Absolutely. And I want to thank Lori. Lori and Danielle and I met for, it's like it was almost 2 years.
Mhm.
Every Monday morning from 7:30 to 8, I think. Working on the bridging initiative, making sure that we contacted, communicated with our student membership and just really servicing them. When I joined MHCA on the board, it needed to make sense for me. And I was a college professor for a good number of years. And one of the courses that I taught bridged students, all of my students from college to the industry. And so when I joined MHCA, that was the one thing we were missing as an organization and as an industry, how to help students, because a lot of our students would graduate and then not be able to figure it out and go back to being what they were before they went through the degree.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a travesty. And so we brought it to MHCA. And so I am grateful that we are continuing this because our goal as the board is to continue in service. So I just want to make that point. And so that's why, regardless of what has happened, we have stayed in service and we're continuing to make sure that our membership is service. So Bridging Initiative has sent out those newsletters. We've serviced the students and we are servicing at large our members. So thank you, Lori, for
Oh,
taking
sure.
the lead in this. I appreciate those early mornings.
Yeah. I miss them actually.
No, right? Me too.
5 o'clock is a little too early for me, but 7:30 worked.
Right. Excellent, excellent. Thank you, thank you. And now we move on to our membership committee with Joy, Dr. Joy Creel. Joy, you're up. Your report is up.
Okay. Hold on one second. My computer just flashed. Can you go to the next one really quickly? My document just went down.
Okay, so we don't have any, so other committees are continuing to be considered and, okay, so let me go to the other agenda. Membership updates.
Oh, Catherine?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. So as far as the other committees, we're still they're all suspended right now, and we're still working through which ones we will unsuspend. Okay.
Yes.
Sorry.
Absolutely. Thank you. Membership updates.
Just from a membership perspective, so the membership committee is still suspended as it is with all the. Go ahead.
The membership is unsuspended, Joy. But it just happened.
Was that on Friday?
It's not suspended, but you haven't had time to prepare a report, I'm sure.
So I can report on what has happened in between time. That's what I was going to report.
Yeah, great.
Right, exactly. So up until this point, the membership committee, I guess would be a better source of language or point of language, is up until this point, membership committee was suspended with all the other committees. And where we are moving forward is in service of our members. So the members definitely can look forward to definitely being serviced with workshops, and we'll be bringing back our chat and shoes and different things of that nature to make sure that our members have what they need. We want to make sure that our members are served during this time. That is our goal and the mission of MHCA. We are a member-driven organization, and we want to make sure that we focus on that, which is why up until this point we were which is why we are bringing, of course, the membership committee back to make sure that members have what they need and they have a point of contact, which is super important that you all, that members are able to reach out to a person, a body to say, okay, what is this? What is going on? And so I've had the opportunity to serve in that space for, a number of years now at this point. So just continuing to look forward to serve the committee, to serve the constituency in that space. So if from this point, if there are questions, the MMHCABI@gmail.com email address is open for membership concerns. If you, as on the website, of course, I'm listed. If you want to reach out to me personally, you do have that opportunity to reach out to me personally so that I can service those questions and things of that nature. But definitely for the membership to look forward to those upcoming events and activities that we'll be doing to make sure that the members have what they need.
Thank you, Joy. Thank you, thank you. And so on the next order of business, item 6, Carol, did you want to handle that? Or I'm not
Sure.
okay.
Okay, so currently, just to try and reassure members, access to MHCA funds, right now, the money is it's not able to be accessed by either party. So your money is safe right now. We can't speak more publicly about this right now due to legal actions being taken. But if you do have questions about how to pay your dues, please email the MMHCABI@gmail.com. Also, I wanted to give an update. I talked to some accounting firms about doing an audit, and we are not required legally to do an audit. And so what I learned is it's probably better for us to do a process review. In talking to them, they said an audit is a lot more expensive, but 2, it'll just come out saying you didn't do this, you didn't do this, you didn't do this. Well, we know a lot of those things haven't been done. We need to know what we need to do. And a process review will help us set up internal controls and checks and balances. Things like each month providing to the board a check register, credit card statements, and bank account statements. Something, to my understanding, has never been done, at least in the last 12 or so years. So let's see. That's
Carol, I would like to state that we have secured sufficiently that any monies. Did you want to talk about that, Kristen? No, okay.
Well, I will. I was just gonna, I
Okay.
think you're gonna say what I was gonna say. So go
Okay.
ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
That any current monies coming in is secured, and we do have access to that. So I didn't want members to be concerned about allowing their memberships to continue to renew. Or if any new renewals come in, we do have access to that. Okay? All right.
So another thing I wanted to mention for members is when we send out these minutes, I'll also include a permanent Zoom link that will have at least through May for you to be able to join these meetings, which we hold on the 3rd Friday of each month from 9 to 11 a.m. And then, as you know, in June, there will be a new election. So it will be determined after that what the Zoom link is. And I think that's all I have.
Thank you, Carol. I appreciate that. All right, and the next on the agenda is our survey results from Larry Pfaff.
Okay, I will make this a very general report because the detailed report will be coming out probably within a week. And just so people know, one of the board members, it hasn't been determined which yet, will actually do a short video, probably 15 minutes or less, of detailed report from the survey. And there'll also be a document that will go out reporting what we learned. And I'll just give an overview of some of the things this morning so that you can get an idea of what we found out. And by the way, this is a perfect spin-off from Joy's presentation because this is really part of membership. Surveying the members is a real part. So I guess member kind of hasn't been suspended in a certain way because this survey went out. And that's a really good member service that I don't think has ever been done before, hasn't been done for a long, long time. But let me just go through a couple things to give you an idea of what came out from the member survey. And I'm not going to even put anything up on the screen. I'll just talk through some of this. The survey process went very smoothly. The board put together a survey of, and I guided them just a little bit of background. I've done literally hundreds of surveys at corporations and other groups for employee satisfaction, all types of things. So the process went very smoothly. We used a Google form to do it because Google Forms automatically gives you the data in a spreadsheet. It also allowed for each person to only be able to respond once. So there were 13 total items. We kept the demographic ones down to 5 or less so we could get some sense of the membership. And then the other 8 collected preferences and opinions and comments and that sort of thing. There were 290 people responded, and I think it was about a 5-day period, Catherine, I believe. So and about 70% of those were current members and almost 90 were previous members. If you say, well, that doesn't sound like a lot. Well, if you remember back from graduate school, which you probably don't, statistically speaking, for the size of our membership, MMHCA needed to exceed about 200 responses to get a good statistically valid study. So being at 290 puts it in real good shape in terms of having a good sense of what the membership thinks. One of the things that came out and it caught my eye was the short span of membership in terms of how long they've been members. And this speaks to what was already talked to earlier in this meeting about membership turnover over time and constantly new members, but the total membership number not growing. Almost over 60% of current members have been a member less than 5 years. And another 20-some% have been a member less than 9 years, which says that there's a lot of rollover in membership, and that speaks to not serving, in my mind, speaks to not serving the members' needs because they leave. If you're serving their needs, they'll stay longer. So that was just one thing that sort of stood out. Because the membership, when you look at those same members, how long they've been a counselor, it's spread across 30 years. So that's kind of interesting. Couple things else I'll say, if you took the survey, you'll remember there were 7 preference areas that we wanted people to rank order. Those were continuing education, networking among members, career development, advocacy and lobbyist types of things, updates to laws, running a private practice, and the bridging initiative. I'm not going to report what those are because they were bar graphs, but it's fascinating. You'll see some interesting things there when we get it out about what were the priorities of those. And I think it also leads to that MMHCA in the past has been doing some things that are valuable, but needs to do some additional things to really meet the members' needs. So we'll go over those in detail, and actually we were able to rank order those. We also asked some questions about preferred methods of communication, that sort of thing. I'll just say quickly about 2 other things. One was the counseling compact. We asked 2 questions about that, and we asked 2 questions intentionally. One was, should it be explored? And the second was, are you in favor of it? And we asked those 2 for a specific reason. The vast majority of members want it to be explored. But right now, only about half know think it should be adopted, which means there's a lot of work that needs to be done, which means involving the lobbyist and really having some open, transparent discussions with the membership about that process. And then I'll finish up with just, we asked 3, if you remember the survey, 3 open-ended questions. One was, what has MHCA been doing and they should continue doing? And the second was, what has MHCA not been doing that they should start doing? And the third one was just any other comments. Those first 2 of those 3 were very interesting because we saw that, yes, the membership believes that advocacy is important and has been the primary focus of MHCA. But the second question came through that there's a lot more that members want to be done. And it's around some of the things that were already mentioned this morning about training and development options and bridging initiative and those sorts of things that need to be done to do more outreach to the members and provide them with more services that are valuable to them. So it's going to be kind of fun to put it all together, and it's in a preliminary report, and it'll be out within a week or so. That's it. Any questions from anybody? Yeah, Carol.
Carol.
Larry, thank you very much for that report. If anyone has questions, we can set this question aside. I would like us to discuss who we are going to send those survey results to, because we did survey members and former members. But I know the board has been in discussion about that, former members haven't actually invited us into their email boxes. So I'm a little unclear about if and when we will be emailing former members.
Yeah. Go ahead, Larry.
I was just going to say, at the very least, and it's not my decision, at the very least, it goes to members, but then it can be made public.
Sure.
I mean, maybe you don't directly send it to everybody. You don't send it to all 10,000 counselors in the state of Michigan, but you make it available, and and you can put it up on Facebook, and especially if you guys do the video, a short video. I think that's a good way for people to video with PowerPoint slides, so people can get a visual sense of what it was. And by the way, let me add one other comment to what I said. This what you're going to find is this survey is the beginning. It's not the end. There's going to be more outreach to members and to counselors in general because it raises a lot of questions. We get some hints at what people want, but we're going to need help and we're going to need expertise. And I think it's going to lead to a lot of potential involvement of other members and a lot of potential services. So we're going to need to do more outreach to gather even more information.
Thank you. Carol?
Yeah.
Yes, I just wanted to absolutely thank everyone who responded to the survey. It was so helpful and so informative. And I think you'll be interested in the results too, the more detailed results, when we can send them out next week.
Yeah, and you just triggered something else, Carol. Let me also say that 290 people responded. We're all very thoughtful. As I read through all those comments, and I think, the lowest, well, I could look real quick, but I believe that the lowest number of comments on the open-ended questions was over 250 people wrote comments. And that's across 3 questions. So it's 250 for each of the 3. So which means probably all 290, wrote comments. And of all of those comments, which is, that's over 700 comments. They were all thoughtful. Nobody said anything sarcastic. They weren't all necessarily positive, but even the negative ones were constructive. And that was reassuring that people in the field were being so thoughtful and so helpful, which says that the membership really cared about the organization.
Thank you. Before we adjourn, Chris, I'm sorry, Carol, did you have something else?
Well, I guess I just wanted to say a couple things that stood out to me about the survey were that membership, they do want to hear from the board.
Yeah.
And they do want to be kept apprised of how we are resolving the difficulties that we're going through. And we absolutely will do our very best to do that for you. And just again, thank you. Thank you for your very thoughtful responses. So, so helpful.
And for those of you who are here today, thank you. Thank you.
Mhm.
Because we realize that we are all in this together, and we have made a commitment as a board to be fully transparent. And so everything that we can share, we will share. So you won't have to guess as to where we are and where we're going, what our intentions are. We will share those things. And we invite you to openly ask the questions, and we will respond. But before we conclude, we wanted to really take this time to thank Dr. Fath, Dr. Larry Fath, for his ongoing support and for his expertise and commitment has been invaluable to us. And Chris wanted to make sure that we took the time to do that. We got one comment from Kalada before we close out. Kalada, you can unmute yourself.
Yes, thank you, board. I'm not clear yet how, whether as members and we come to the board meeting, are we allowed to communicate at all? And how we're supposed to be communicating. When I look on the website, I'm not clear about how to get any communication to anyone. And I have questions, and I'd just like to know how I know that Dr. Joy tried to give us something, but it was so quick. I'm not really sure how. And when emails are sent, it would be nice if if there would be something on the website that said what subject titles we can look for in order to find and access MMHCA email, because I'm not seeing very much MMHCA email in my email.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Kalada. That feedback
you.
is valuable to us. Thank you. Joy?
Let me speak to that just really quickly. As we are amping up to serve the members the way that we have in the past, take my number, and what we'll do is if you have any questions and you don't know, feel free to text me. Text is probably going to be the fastest way to get in touch with me, and to know that I got it. But if you're not a texter, call me, and we will make sure that we get you whatever information that you need or that you aren't receiving. How does that sound, Carlotta?
I see that the chat is not open, right? Can you hear me?
No, we don't have the chat.
Okay, so how do I take it down?
I will
and
tell
could
it
you
to
say
you
it
right now.
slowly?
How about that?
And
How
would you
about
say
that?
it slowly, please? Thank
Yes,
you.
absolutely. I'm sorry. I do talk fast. My apologies. It is 810-287-8822. It's also listed on the website under membership chair, just in case you didn't get it. You missed it. It was too fast. Hold on. Come off mute for me just so I can make sure that you have it. You have it?
Yes.
All
Thank
right,
you.
perfect. Yes. So if there's a question, so that email address that we gave, I'm going to also give you that email address again, just in case. Are you ready for that? It's MMHCA, BI as in Bridging Initiative, @gmail.com. And that one is monitored by our admin and everything there. So if you can't get directly in touch with me, she'll get it to me as well. So I just want to make sure that you're able to, kind of have some outlets so that frustration is waned. How does that sound for you? Perfect. Did you have any other questions that we can answer for you now, or you're good now? All right, perfect. Thank you.
All right. Go ahead, Carol.
Catherine, would we have time just to have a short conversation about, in general, are we going to be emailing former members? Because I have seen a lot of them asking, saying, well, how do I know if I want to rejoin if I'm not getting the information? So if we could just have a little discussion about that and come to some agreement. So in general, I know the
Sure.
answers.
Yeah, so my thoughts are when what's not intrusive, right? So I'm really not against sending them the results because many of them responded to the results. So I think since it went originally that it should go back to them, right? The results of the survey. I think the kind of general public information. So my goal in that is to not go places that we're not invited, but then there's some kind of general understanding. There's some things that we get in our email box that we're okay with and not necessarily invited. Does that make sense? So I just really want to honor their spaces and making sure that we're respectful in how we are reaching out. And then the members also have the ability to say, hey, I don't want you all to contact me anymore. Right. Right. And so when that happens, we want to make sure that we honor that and immediately do our due diligence to do that. So I think it's on a case by case basis, Carol. I don't think we can say across the board, we will or we won't. There's some things that I think is general public information that's good for everybody to know. So as a service organization, we want to be able to serve the public. And I think as we're looking at it like that, we're able to do it kind of in that way. Does that make sense?
Yes, definitely. Thank you. Thank you.
Well,
You did just remind me one other thing that I have seen a lot that people have been very upset about is that they don't want to receive emails from the other organization. And our best guidance to you right now is if you can scroll to the bottom of those emails, there is an unsubscribe option, and that may work. So thank you.
okay. Yeah. And so website wise, did we want to, no. Okay. All right. All right. So that's all that's on the agenda. And so is there a motion to adjourn?
I make that motion.
I second.
All right. Thank you all for being here. This has been an absolutely informative, efficient, and wonderful meeting. And we send well wishes to Chris as he recovers. And we will see you all next month. Bye-bye.
Merry Christmas, happy holidays, everyone.
Holidays. You too,
Happy
Joy.
holidays.
Holidays. Bye-bye.